Well, this is a bucket list interview for us here at the Bridge. We've been wanting this to happen for 5 years now.
Right on.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Dawes in the studio today. Actually, Taylor, Griffin, and Tay from Dawes. You left Wiley behind. Did he do something bazzy in the doghouse?
He just still doesn't sing, so he just would be standing around uncomfortably.
He'd just be eye candy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he definitely is that.
Yeah. Just to be a total completist, you're also touring this time around with Dwayne Betts.
Yeah, another guitar player. It's been in our opinion at least the best shows we've ever played. Just having a fuller sound, and it's a lot, especially allowed our shows to be a little bit longer. You know, before when it was just me playing lead guitar, having the same guy kind of sing all the songs and then play all the solos, it was just a lot coming from the same voice, you know. And now he's got his own voice and he has his own style of playing, and I feel like that allows us to, you know, play even more songs, which is really the biggest, the best thing about having another guy.
So the show is tonight over at the Madrid. John Moreland opens, and I don't know if it's a coincidence, but his big song is "High on Tulsa Heat," and you've got family roots in Oklahoma.
Oh, so. That is a coincidence. I mean, we do our grandfather Dawes was from Oklahoma, but yeah, like with John Moreland, his new record just kind of came out of nowhere and blew us away. He's one of the finest songwriters I feel like that are writing songs today.
It's going to be a really special night tonight over at the Madrid. And I should say congratulations on your new album, All Your Favorite Bands. It's just really a great piece of work.
Thanks.
Of course, we've kind of come to expect that from you guys. I got the sense that maybe this was a little bit of a return to the values of the band in the way that you recorded it?
Well, I think in certain respects we've been trying to make this record for a few records now. I think that for so long people have come to our shows and said, "Oh, I didn't realize that you played guitar like that," or "I didn't realize that Griffin played drums like that," or whatever it was. And obviously it was a compliment, but it was also there was the element of it that it's almost frustrating, because it was like, well, how do we make sure that they know that we play like this through our records? And with this record, we decided, rather than to, put aside time and tracks to get a perfect solo or get a perfect tamed performance, we decided to just react to each other and play together like we do on stage. And it sounds simple enough, but it didn't, just doesn't. When you're making a record, it doesn't really occur to you to do it that way. And then listening back, it felt like for the first time of, this is what we sound like. And in a way, it was sort of a cleansing of the palette. I feel like with our first 3 records, each one represents sort of, more color that's added to the picture. And with this, we stripped it all back and got it back to just what we sound like when the 4 of us are playing together.
I was thinking it's super interesting choices that you make, and the record starts with a little bit of room noise, and it'd be really easy to take that out, but it kind of says this is an authentic experience that we're having here. Get ready.
Yeah, I think that in our heads when we were going in, we were thinking, let's have a recording session. Let's not get too precious about what it means to make a record or an album or in these sort of associative terms. We just thought, let's find an amp that I like, a guitar that I want to play, a drum set that we feel good about, and the keyboards and the bass rig, and just roll. We don't need to consider all of the potential options for an amplifier with every section of every song. We just found something that worked and then rolled with it. And a lot of our favorite records have that quality. Like when you listen to Highway 61 or you listen to this year's Model, it's the same 2 keyboards. It's the same Elvis Costello Jazzmaster or whatever. And now when you listen to that record, those choices make up a lot of what the identity is. And so for us, we did want to create an experience within the sort of the limitations, for the lack of a better word.
Dave Rawlings, well known for Dave Rawlings Machine, his work with Gillian Welch, friend of the band's, chose him to be the producer. Any particular thought process that went into that?
We just felt that with other producers that we were talking to, it seemed more of closer to decisions we'd made in the past. And we love all the records that we've made, but we felt like with Dave, he was going to force us to, to really perform and to really show up in a live way. And he was going to demand that out of us. All those Gill records are recorded live. They're singing right there together. He's playing those guitar parts right there while she's singing. And that's his bread and butter. That's how he knows how to record. And we wanted to get closer to that because we felt like we had much more experience playing live shows than we had recording and the nuances of a studio. So we felt like we wanted to capture a live moment rather than explore what it means to get bizarre, wacky sounds like a lot of our favorite bands do.
So when somebody makes a movie, they show it to a test audience, and then they find out, oh, this is working, this isn't working, and they take it back into the editing room. You guys kind of did that with Dave in tow.
Yeah, we went out for 2 weeks in California and played a lot of small markets, and it was really illuminating for us because we would play these songs every night, and it was fascinating to see when the audience would respond. Sometimes we'd put the bridge before the guitar solo and the audience would kind of not respond. And then the next time we put the guitar solo before the bridge, and then all of a sudden we hear like a big cheer. And I don't even think they were necessarily aware of like, oh, I appreciate the solo after the thing. But I just feel like it was like a sort of, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but it was just, it was, people reacted more in a visceral way is what I'm trying to say.
Were you ever afraid that maybe it was just that the second audience is more liquored up?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure there was an element of that. But it was funny. It was like it was like a more like academic approach to seeing how an audience responds. And Dave was out in the audience each night too, just kind of reading people and seeing what they were into and what they weren't.
The other thing that I just loved about reading about the recording of the new record is that Dave really didn't want to play anything back for you.
Yeah, we didn't listen to anything. For like the first 6 or 7 songs, we would do 4 or 5 takes of a song and go to the next one. And after the first song, we said, should we go in there and listen now, Dave? And he's a very sweet guy. And he's like, of course you can. But I feel like it's coming out of the speakers in such a good way. And I feel like if you go in and listen to it, you're going to be aware of, how you hit that note or how you play that chord or whatever it is. Like it might inform your performance. And I feel like it might be good to just kind of keep rolling without having that factor into anything. So we just decided to keep rolling. And then the first time we listened to something, we're like, oh, that sounds great. And then at that point, we were confident enough to just keep on with the approach that we'd been taking.
Dawes in the studio here at the Bridge, and of course playing tonight at the Madrid with John Moreland opening. We'd love to hear some music if we could.
She went from table manners to tunnel vision to premature farewells, with a restlessness reserved for those who believe in themselves. She thought the world was hers, so she made sure it bent beneath her will. She was as new and as ancient as the solar paneled hills. She was certain she could take this town by storm. The wonder of sound and light seeking a form. But somewhere along the way, the dots didn't all connect, and promise became regret. Somewhere along the way, the dream and the circumstance continue their tortured dance. Somewhere along the way, she was my lullaby personified, my vision in the mist. But her contacts were all promoters and a scattered therapist. The The 5 a.m.s, the worried friends, the parting of her lips. But I needed to witness someone wrestle with what it means to just exist. How her only plan in life was getting lost. How she took me to the edge and made me watch. But somewhere along the way, the running just lost its fun. It happens to everyone. Somewhere along the way, her trail became too obscure, but that was her signature. She would talk about letting go. I guess I didn't understand. Giving over to the currents that were there since time began. And on a long drive from El Paso to the Pacific Ocean cliffs, I finally felt connected to the continental drift. And somewhere along the way, I started to smile again. I don't remember when. Somewhere along the way, things will turn out just fine. I know it's true this time.
That was absolutely gorgeous. Dawes in our studio today here at the Bridge. You know, when I started this, I said it was a bucket list interview, which kind of infers that, you know, you're going to die. And I looked over at the audience and I saw some Lord Take Me Now faces. It was like, doesn't get any better.
Well,
so it was quite lovely. Tonight at the Madrid, Dawes, if you want to know more, dawestheband.com. If I was going to give an award for a band that is compared too much to other bands, you guys would win it. You know, there's so much talk about Laurel Canyon, the Laurel Canyon sound. Of course, it's kind of where you grew up, right?
Weird thing
Malibu.
about... Yeah, I mean, we grew up in L.A. The weird thing that's always sort of confounded us with the Laurel Canyon sound thing is that I feel like it's associative to a time gone by that even the folks that were there don't necessarily identify with it as such. And then when they say like, oh, Dawes is kind of the, you know, part of the Laurel Canyon sound of today, it's like there's really no other band I think that gets mentioned in that. So I feel like we're this one band genre that is almost not existent anyway.
Well, and the crazy thing is, the reason that, like, I actually hate to read about you guys because of it, right? And it's like when I was growing up, and, you know, music's generational, and, you know, you often lock into the music of your youth, and I've kind of fought that because I want to continue to hear new music, right? But the Laurel Canyon stuff, the Jackson Browne, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, Joni Mitchell, I mean, that was my stuff.
Right.
And when I hear Dawes, I hear a really great band, but I'm not thinking about any of those bands. Right. And having lived with that stuff, to me, you guys are an original.
Well, thank you.
And so that's why I really hate to do that. Having said that, I am now going to do the most ridiculous number of name-dropping things I've ever done in an interview. And I'm partly going to do it because, you know, you guys are endorsed by so many people who actively want to work with you. And that's the testament. Right? It's not that you sound like them. It's just that here are these storied people. And of course, a lot of them are your peers. Taylor, you've done some great stuff with Middle Brother.
Right. Well, thanks.
You know, and of course, Deer Tick, Delta Spirit, part of Middle Brother. But then the stuff that you've done besides that, the Jackson Browne stuff that you did, even playing Occupy, which would have made me nervous. That was a pretty big crowd. Fogerty.
Yeah.
Robbie Robertson. We here in Kansas City have a particular affection for the New Basement tapes.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly. It's like mentioned in like 5 songs.
Yeah, it was just crazy, and we were wondering why.
We don't know either. I mean, when we got a hold of those lyrics, so much of them were just nonsense. I mean, really fun nonsense, but a lot like $1 Million Bash, like cheese in the chunk and cheek in the cash, or whatever he's saying. There's a lot of that playfulness that Bob Dylan was up to during the writing of all the lyrics that go into the Basement Tapes, and so these lyrics fall right in with that. And when you hear him interviewed about it, he talks about how it's a lot of he was watching the news or reading the newspaper and like, okay, I'll write a song about that. So I don't know what's inspired all the Kansas City references. My theory is that he was just trying to write one song, and it found its way into 3 or 4 different ideas, and then from that nothing ever got written. And then when we got a hold of it, we ended up just working with all the ideas that he had done. Is there even a Liberty Street?
There is.
Okay,
it's
cool.
over in the West Bottoms, and there's nothing on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It just nothing.
I doubt Bob Dylan spent 6 months there, but maybe he read about someone
if
that
he
did.
did, he should have let us know. We would have gone down there and. The answer that T-Bone Burnett gave, which I think he just made up to satisfy the interviewer, was that he thought that Kansas City was indicative of the sound that Dylan was moving towards. And, of course, he was having a lot of people who were, showing him a fair amount of disrespect for leaving the old sound behind.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I've never been good at regional styles of music. Like when you mentioned Joni Mitchell and Neil Young and like Jackson Browne and Warren Zevon, someone had to point out to me that they were all from LA and they were all part of this sound. I wasn't even really aware of that. So if there was like a sound that Dylan was going for that existed in Kansas City, that's news to me. I mean,
I didn't recognize that either.
Yeah.
There's a huge blues thing, a huge jazz thing here.
Well, the one thing that was fascinating, especially in the Marcus song, Kansas City, when he did the words almost exactly as they were in written down with Dylan, from Dylan. But at the end of it, there was one line that Marcus didn't sing. It was I'm going back to Kansas City where people don't care if you're black or white. And so I think it was a civil rights song, and Marcus, I think, saw a different thing in it, maybe a little more abstract or vague. And that's one of my favorite songs in the album. But I think Dylan originally had a much more politically centric intention with that one, and Marcus didn't want to
go there
with at least with that one. I mean, there's a lot of that going on, but that I think maybe had more to do with what was going on with Dylan. I don't know if it was an article he read. I don't know if he spent time down here and had a great experience, and but that was something that was in that original set of lyrics that you don't hear now.
I know, Griffin, you were there for the new Basement Tapes too, and it's just sort of like, okay, so you go in and it's T-Bone Burnett, and it's Elvis Costello, and it's Jim James, and it's Rhiannon Giddens, and like Johnny Depp is there, and there are cameras rolling the whole time. I mean, no pressure at all. You're just writing music for Bob Dylan lyrics on camera with all of these, amazing, stellar people. It had to be just bizarre.
Yeah, that scene in the documentary is actually the first time that I walked into the session, and it was exactly as it seems. It was like incredibly overwhelming, and not to mention Jay Bellerose was playing drums on the whole record, and he's a legend and one of my favorite players. So yeah, I mean, it was insane. There's tons of pressure, but it kind of creates an environment in which you either it's flight or die. You do it or that's not the correct term, but you either have to create on the spot or else it's not happening.
I'm assuming that when you're writing melodies for Dylan lyrics and the context that that it's a bit of a different thing than your normal songwriting.
Yeah, and I think that it made it such a different kind of exercise. Like there was a lot of it where it was just, I don't know what this is about. I'm not going to pretend to know what it's about, and it'll just come out the way it comes out. A song like Florida Key was such a fun song to write. And there's I like to think that there's a lot of the lyric matching up with the melody that I wrote that feels very appropriate. But then there's other lyrics in the song where, frankly, I almost feel like, oh, that doesn't match at all. Where he says like, he rhymes like boats with goats. I mean, it's a very silly thing, and the way I'm singing it is tender and soft, and it's like this is a miss. I'm very proud of that, but it's just hard to know how to match someone's emotional intention and then have that carry through and work for an entire piece, especially with that material.
And Dylan is, I think private is a good word for it. We've had over the years so many people who've come in who've been on tour with him, never spoken to him. You all went on tour with Dylan. You actually did have a brief moment.
Yeah. I got to meet him on the very last day. He was walking to his bus, and I was standing by the trailer, and he came up and was very, very nice.
Go ahead and tell everybody. I'm going to drag this out of you.
Okay. Well, yeah, he came up and he's like, "You guys are a great band." I said, I was, at that point I was very excited to be meeting him. So I was like, "Thank you very much." And he's like, "What's the name of that last ballad you play?" And I said, "It's a song called A Little Bit of Everything." He's like, "That's a great song." And obviously that was a very special moment for me. And then I told him thanks, and then we fist bumped, and then
truly?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we didn't shake hands. He put his fist out there, and I knew what he meant. And I think I don't know if he just it's a little, I'm sure everyone in the world would love to just like crush his hand if they had the opportunity to shake it without really realizing they were doing so. So I think he knows better at this point and just like, "Cool, man, nice to meet you." And then he went on his way. It lasted like maybe 15 seconds or something. It was very brief, but he was very, very nice and very gracious. And I was really honored that he, took a second to say hi. He has every right to be as private as he wants to be at this point. When you look at any movie or any interview, I mean, he's been he's gotten the accolades and the praise that he deserves, but everyone has made his life their business. And so for him to want to sort of retreat within his own, within himself or within his bus or whatever it is, I feel like he's totally entitled to that. So if we had never met him, it would have made perfect sense,
So last name drop, at least for a little bit, one of the final Letterman shows.
Yeah.
I won't make you say this, I'll say it. Letterman's quote, "If you're looking for a rock and roll band, this is pretty much all you need."
Yeah, that was pretty special.
And you played Zevon track for him, which I'm sure was really emotional.
Yeah, that was. That was a really intense moment. We had heard that there was that, he tells the story in the little video, but he Zevon, on his last time on the show, he left him a guitar and said, "Take care of this for me," and Letterman really wanted him to perform, have someone come and perform Desperados Under the Eaves on it. Unfortunately, the guitar didn't make it back in time, but he was excited that we knew that song and loved that song. Not only do I love that song, but I feel like that's like the greatest song ever written about LA. And so to get to come on the show and perform it, but also share even just the remotest part of the relationship that existed between Paul and Dave and Warren Zevon was, obviously a huge honor for us. And the best part about that was, while we were singing, we're kind of like, Dave was over here kind of pacing as he was listening, and Paul did the string intro for us. And just to, watch their reactions, that was sort of the heaviest moment. Obviously, it's great to have a video of it and have people get to watch it, but it was for them. And so that was a very special moment for us.
Dawes in our studios today here at the Bridge, and they're going to be playing tonight at the Madrid Theater with John Moreland, a great singer-songwriter, opening up. And the new album is All Your Favorite Bands. We'd love to hear another song if we could.
The flicker of the candle looks like a one-way conversation, reacting to something that nobody else could see. While I sit at the table and I relive the whole situation, until the valet that wants to go home comes in and gives me my keys. And tonight, every single star is shining. The power lines all sizzle and buzz. And now that it's too late, Maria, I see it all for what it was. There's nothing sadder than a street light shining on a stretch of empty sidewalk. Or maybe the fog that I've been living in has lifted for the first time in weeks. Every day's been a step forward, perfecting the art of the small talk. So I never have to say something I might really mean. But I remember all the final words you told me, how I was too green to be blue. And now that it's too late, Maria, I can see how that was true. Now when I am in your city, I come across the company you've been keeping. They all hit it off so well with some infamous ghost from my past. And it's so hard to imagine what you could have possibly told them. Some wonder how I'm doing, but most don't even ask. But now every single door is held open. I even signed some autographs. And now that it's too late, Maria, we can both look back and laugh. There is always more to say, but I'm just skipping to the ending. After you move back to Texas and I find that girl that wants to change her name, and we both start to forget the problems that were never worth having. And everybody goes on living, watching nothing really change. But there will always be a part of you that's with me, and you sure as hell had better feel the same. 'Cause now that it's too late, Maria, there is no one here to blame.
Really lovely.
Thanks.
Dawes in our studio today here at the Bridge, and of course at the Madrid Theater tonight. Earlier you were mentioning your grandfather, actually where you got the band name. Mm-hmm. There's been a sort of steady progression of music through the last 3 generations of your family, but it seems like everybody picked their own genre.
Yeah. Grandpa Goldie, that was Dawes. He was into country and western. Our dad found Otis Redding and James Brown at a young age and never turned back. He sang in Tower of Power. He was always an R&B guy. So much so that when me and Griffin were both like, Dad, you got to check out the Grateful Dead and Bob Dylan. He's like, oh my gosh, how can you listen to this? He's gotten into it since. He would always tell the same joke though. He's like, what did the Deadhead say after he came off of acid? This band sucks, or something like that. But it's not going to change how I feel about him. But yeah, and then we got into rock and roll bands.
Your dad, it's funny. A lot of your growing up was about your dad's record collection, and it's a story that we hear every once in a while from people who come in. But most people don't have Dad on the records.
Right.
Your dad not only Tower of Power, but also Sweat Hog and Five Americans.
Yeah.
So, I thought it was really kind of cool that he's gone back and he started to record more now. Did you did you have a hand? Do you guys have a hand in that at all?
Yeah, he tends to wrangle us in, along with Tay and Wiley and our buddy Blake as well. But we're not really home, so when we do it, when he can get us for a couple of days, it's like marathon recording. Like I'll go in and for like 3 hours playing like 15 of his songs.
And he's got more energy than and more vocal range than anyone I've ever met. So he'll just sing and sing and sing and sing, and yeah, it's always fun. But we're always like blown away by how long he can work.
You knew as a child that this is what you wanted to do, and you remember singing with your dad at a really young age. He begrudgingly bought you a guitar at age 11. And then by 12, you were already trying to write songs.
Yeah, it just sort of happened on its own. I learned G, A minor, and D7. Those were the 3 easiest chords my fingers could figure out at first. And then through those chords, I was like, okay, I guess I can write a song. I know 3 chords now. And so I didn't have C yet, so there was no C in the song. But yeah, I just started writing right away. I never thought about thinking I needed a certain amount of knowledge in order to write or whatever, which I think is a good thing. I think it's so easy to build up walls in your head as to why you can't do something, and I definitely have that with so many instruments. But with songwriting, it was just this foregone conclusion that I was going to do that as soon as possible.
If I were going to pick out the one thing that I thought was really kind of astonishing about the band is that the earliest roots of Dawes were a post-punk band.
Well, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean, if that's what post-punk sounds like, then I guess we were a post-punk band. But we were just listening to a lot of Elvis Costello and David Bowie and I don't know, Lou Reed and stuff. And yeah, Simon Dawes. I feel like Simon Dawes was sort of I don't know, getting lost in a costume shop or something. I feel like when I listened to it, I feel like that's when I was listening to that album and I wanted to be that guy, and that's when I was listening to that album and wanted to be that guy. The songs were more vehicles to just be in a rock band. They don't. When I listen back to it, I hear a lot of just faking it. I mean, I'm very proud of it, and I look back on it fondly, but I don't look back at those songs and think like those are some good songs. I think that the songs that Blake was writing are actually really great. I think he always just had he was the other guy in the band, but he always had a real gift and still does for writing very poignant stuff that was very true to whatever he was going through. And I think I was just sort of guessing at what a song was supposed to be.
So you just made the reference to like, music as the costume shop trying different things on. You found who you are, clearly. So now the costume shop has moved over to the videos. I wasn't sure that I was going to bring this up, but things happen. The costumes, it's like, Tay, I think that you win the award for the best costume.
Oh, yeah. That was all my idea, too. I love dressing in drag and standing on the corner of Hollywood Boulevard.
Unless you see the video, you may not really understand, but I thought you looked exactly like Marilyn.
Yeah, I did a lot of character study for that.
Yeah.
You just nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
New Balance sneakers and everything.
Her bearded days.
Yeah.
If you have a chance, check out the video to Things Happen. Dawes in the studio here at the Bridge, and I just want to thank you guys again for coming in, because you don't have to do this, and we know that, and it's just it's so nice for you to do that and spend the
thanks
time
for having us. It's been
and your
great.
gifts, and we'd love to hear another song if
All
we
right.
could.
Late night drives and hot french fries and friends around the country, from Charlottesville to good old Santa Fe. When I think of you, you still got on that hat that says let's party. I hope that thing is never thrown away. I hope that life without a chaperone is what you thought it'd be. I hope your brother's El Camino runs forever. I hope the world sees the same person that you always were to me. And may all your favorite bands stay together. Now I'm just waking up and I'm not thinking clearly, so don't quote me. With one eye open, I'm writing you this song. Ain't it funny how some people pop into your head so easily, when I haven't seen you in there for so long? I hope that life without a chaperone is what you thought it'd be. I hope your brother's El Camino runs forever. I hope the world sees the same person that you always were to me. And may all your favorite bands stay together. And may all your favorite bands stay together.
It's such an unusual phrase, but there's just no better wish, right? I'm still waiting. You know, it's like I know a couple of them are gone, but you know the Beatles, they crushed me back in the day. You know? Dawes in our studio, that's clearly the title track to their new one, all your favorite bands, and I'm sure that you'll have that tonight at the merch table over at the Madrid.
Oh, yeah.
Along with Let's Party hats.
Yeah.
And I hope you made them as cheaply and as obnoxious as a hat can possibly be.
Yeah, they are pretty cheap. Not for the whoever's buying them, but for us to make.
Well, I think it's going to be just a truly special night tonight over at the Madrid with Dawes. You can find out more at dawestheband.com. Do yourself a favor, show up on time. John Moreland is definitely worth checking out. And don't forget all your favorite bands and those Let's Party hats at the merch table. Thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dawes here on the Bridge.